Take him, he plays like a howling cat.
And you snore enough to say go loud shutters. Go back to bed, old man.
I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture. I like to combine theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. Recently, Enchanted Forest in Oregon became the second theme park in the Pacific Northwest to reopen from the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll take a look at some of the things they're doing in response to the pandemic, as well as share some of the highlights of the park when you come to visit. All right, all gassed up and ready to go. While theme parks and other businesses in various parts of the United States have either reopened or are in the process of reopening, Washington State and Oregon have taken a more cautious approach and are now starting to catch up. WildWave's Theme and Water Parks website currently shows plans to reopen the water park on July 6th, but it appears it will not include the dry rides and coasters at this point. So today, I'm heading to Oregon to visit the second park of the Pacific Northwest after Silverwood had reopened last month, and that is Enchanted Forest in the town of Turner. Enchanted Forest's website currently has a page dedicated to providing information about what changes and protocols are being implemented for reopening the park. Because one of the changes is a limited capacity, they're limiting visits to blocks of 3 hours with different start times, and have changed the way you purchase tickets to reflect this. Your admission to the park must be bought in advance of arriving at the park, as they will not be accepting walk-up visitors. To do so, you simply go to the page for purchasing your park admission, click the button to choose the date and time you wish to enter the park, and then select the number of tickets you wish to buy. You can also purchase your ride tickets as well to save time, or you can wait till you get to the park. After you've made your selections, all you have to do is go to the checkout page and you'll enter your contact and credit card information to complete your purchase. Then you're all set and ready to visit the park. So one of the first main requirements to keep in mind with the Enchanted Forest Park is that they are requiring masks when you go indoors, as well as when you get onto rides. They recommend masks when you're in outdoor areas. With that being said, I think it's time to go ahead inside and check out what's going on here at Enchanted Forest. Heading to the front gate, you'll find signs that provide information, recommendations, and warnings regarding COVID-19, and you'll go through a temperature check before entering. To help with distancing, they've made markings with tape, but it's a little bit different here because they have 2 feet between each marker. So they advise you to keep 4 markers between you and the next party to ensure you always have 6 feet between. The markers on some of the railings in lines in different areas of the park are set up at 6 feet instead of 2. To further help with distancing, the park has put up signage and markers to direct visitors to walk in specific directions in different areas. Whether it's one way on a narrow path, or 2 ways on wider paths indicating which side to stay toward based on the direction you're headed. With reduced capacity in the park, they have some benches and tables blocked to space people out even more, and several food stands that are currently closed for the time being as there won't be as many visitors in the park. Because of the 3-hour window for visits, they give you a wristband that allows them to know which time frame your 3-hour window is. And because of this time limit, they're not utilizing wristbands for rides as they normally do. Rather, the only option is to purchase tickets for the rides. For the cleaning side of things, the park has placed many more hand sanitizer stations throughout the park, and the staff is regularly going through different parts of the park to clean handrails and tables, and rides are getting cleaned after every cycle. While this may take more time, the extra effort is appreciated in trying to keep everyone safe. Unfortunately, some areas are harder to keep clean, such as smaller enclosures that children can climb through, or several of their larger slides, so they have them closed for the time being. A full list of what's closed can be found on the website. Luckily, not everything in the park is closed. One of my favorite attractions of this park is the Storybook Trail. And while some parts of the trail are not available, the trail itself is, allowing you to see sculptures and statues dedicated to many popular fairy tales and storybooks. The trail is well maintained and can lead to a nice, relaxing walk. Or you could take the more adventurous route into their buildings to see different scenes depicting other popular tales and stories.
You know you don't have a mask on, right? Well, I guess there's an exclusion for witches.
Some of the displays on the Storybook Trail even have moving scenes with sound that help to depict the story that it represents.
Somebody's been sitting in my chair.
Somebody's been sitting in my chair too.
Somebody's been sitting in my chair too, and they broke it all to pieces.
Along with the trail, the park has a Wild West themed area called Toftville, named after the park's creator, Roger Toft. While this area has a shop and snack stand, it features fun displays and scenes similar to those found in the Storybook Trail. Beyond Toftville is one of the park's larger attractions, the Haunted House. Now, this isn't anything like the Haunted Mansion at Disney parks, but it is a fun walkthrough with animated objects meant to give you a bit of a jump and maybe even a little scare. Beyond the Haunted House is where you'll find the majority of kids' rides meant for the younger crowd. The majority of these are open. One of the major attractions is the Big Timber Log Ride. Some enthusiasts consider this log flume to be a coaster credit because of a segment between flume sections that includes a few turns and a drop that comes right before the ride's biggest drop. While this is normally one of the more popular attractions in the park, it was a bit of a cooler day, so some folks were a bit more hesitant to ride. But that didn't stop me from taking a spin on it.
Yeah, I got a little bit of moisture from the ride, but it's still fun.
Nearby is a ride that is truly unique to this park, and that is the Mountain Bobsleds. There is nothing like this coaster, designed in-house and built using part of a former alpine slide. The cars really stand out because of the way that they enclose riders, but riding it makes you appreciate the use of the clear sides and top, as there are some really narrow spaces between the train and the nearby trees or structure of the ride. There's also several spots where the train almost feels horizontal in some of the turns, making for a fairly wild ride. This is definitely a must-ride at Enchanted Forest.
So we're obviously not really well known for having the biggest and best coasters in the world here in the Pacific Northwest, but we really do have some unique rides, especially the likes of Ice Mountain Bobsled here. This is really such a quirky and fun ride, and the way that you've got these angles in the track and the way that it's almost like they're trying to make overbank turns in some of the corners, it's a ton of fun. This is definitely one that's worth making a trip out to Turner to check out, especially if you're already visiting Portland. It's only about an hour drive.
Another surprise of the park is Challenge of Mondor. This is an interactive shooting dark ride, and while many parks have similar attractions, this was one of the first to utilize a trackless system made by ETF Ride Systems. While it certainly goes at a slower pace compared to some of the newer trackless rides, it's still neat that a smaller park like this had one of the first. Challenge of Mondor is located at the edge of the park's English Village, which contains more scenes like those in the Storybook Trail. But it also has a few townfolk who talk to each other from their windows.
You old stop all you gossiping so a man can get some sleep.
Oh, go back to bed, old man. Me husband don't plays the fiddle. Maybe I'll tell him to talk to Robin.
Robin wouldn't take him. He plays like a howling cat.
And you snore enough to say, go loud, shut 'em. Go back to bed, old man.
Did you hear that cute Tom? Tom the Piper's son is in the stockade again.
The village also has a few animated shows you can watch, such as one featuring the blackbirds from the nursery rhyme Sing a Song of Sixpence.
Barry!
He's got a voice that's out of this world.
Not far enough, if you ask me.
Well, that's a good one, so.
We'd like to sing a saucy tale for all those bird lovers out there. Do you know who you are?
The park also offers a water show where 359 water jets spray with different lights and music created by Roger's daughter Susan back in 1988. It remains a timeless classic of the park today.
So that's a brief look at Enchanted Forest here in Turner, Oregon, and the things that they're doing to protect people from COVID-19. You know, I've got to say, I love these smaller parks. They're always so charming, and especially this one. This isn't the first time I've been to this park. It's been about 10 years since the first time I visited, and then I've been a couple other times with friends of mine who were visiting the area, and they were getting their coaster credits at the park. And so there hasn't been a lot to change in the park itself. But that doesn't make it any less fun to come and spend a couple hours every so often. The other thing I also want to mention is that I really appreciate the effort that a lot of these parks are taking to try and make the parks safe for the people who are coming to visit them. I know that sometimes it can be a little bit of a burden. Having the lower capacity could be a bit of a hindrance on their operations. And I know sometimes for us visitors, it could be a little bit of a bummer that it takes longer for the cleaning and things like that. I've kind of accepted that it's better to be safe than sorry. And I think that's pretty true considering the things that we're seeing with this whole pandemic and the different things that have happened to people because of it. And so I'm really appreciative of the parks doing stuff like this, taking the time to make things cleaner, using the spacing, lowering their capacity so that they can still open up and allow people to come in and enjoy the parks. So I'm really hoping that Enchanted Forest will be one of those ones that will pull through this. I know it's very difficult when you have limited operations. You can only allow so many people in. I think right now they're only allowing about 200 people in the park at any given time. Granted, this isn't going to be a park that's going to have like 60,000 people in one day, but even still, anytime you have to limit how many people can come in, that can definitely hurt their bottom line. But if the park continues to operate after this, I will be eternally grateful because this is one of the best small parks that I've been to here in the Pacific Northwest. Now that we've had a chance to check out the park a little bit, see some of the rides, see some of the things that they're doing, it's time to head back up to Renton. But on the way, there is going to be a stop because there's something that's been added to the town of Kaiser, just about 18 to 20 minutes up the road here. And because they've got it, I feel like I have to stop for it.
Earlier this year, this In-N-Out restaurant location opened, making it the closest one to my home in the Seattle area, a bit more than 200 miles away. Since it wasn't far from the park, I knew I had to stop, as it is one of my personal favorite burger chains, and one I make a point to visit anytime I go to California, or Utah, or Nevada. Okay, I might be a bit of a fan. However, since this location is still fairly new, the line was a bit longer, but not as long as the drive-through line, which had 3 separate lines they would alternate between, and they still had vehicles waiting on the nearby street. But even with a bit of a wait to order inside, it was well worth it, and a great way to cap off a fun day. Thank you for watching this Coastin' with Culture video. If you'd like to see future videos about combining theme park visits and cultural experiences, please consider clicking that subscribe button down below. You'll also find Coastin' with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, plus more content at coastingwithculture.com. Until next time, Take care and safe travels.